Hey guys, so today I thought I'd talk a little bit about when I first moved to Hong Kong in 2015. And I was 21, turning 22 that year. Basically, I came here to be part of a management training program. And I was very determined to be independent, to be completely self-sufficient, which I did manage to do at some sacrifices. And so they allotted me a budget, which was 5,000 Hong Kong dollars. No, 6,000 Hong Kong dollars for housing. And so this is not a large amount when it comes to Hong Kong. Hong Kong, as I'm sure most people are aware, and if you aren't aware, then alert, alert, it is extraordinarily expensive here for housing rent, right? The rents are typically, for 100 square feet on Hong Kong Island, you're looking at somewhere between 8,000 to 10,000 Hong Kong dollars. That means that if I do 10 steps in one direction, turn at a 90-degree angle and walk 10 steps, so 10 steps by 10 steps, that's 100 square feet. Okay, that's pretty small by most standards in the world. And so I had this budget of 5,000 Hong Kong dollars. I was determined to be able to live within that budget. I decided to move into a walk-up. It was a one apartment that was subdivided into 5 units. And my unit was 80 square feet, which included kitchen, bathroom, and living/bedroom space. And it was a little bit of a contortionist act when you tried to get into my place. You would come in, on the left-hand side, you would see there was a small kitchenette, very small sink, and a one top electric stove. And underneath, I had a 3/4 fridge, which I carried up by hand. Now, here's a little fun fact. When you are doing furniture delivery in Hong Kong, they will charge you, if it's a walk-up building, they will charge you per floor that they have to walk up. I lived on the 5th floor. Oh God, that's 5 stories. I am a stickler because anything I can do myself, I tend to refuse to pay other people. So I thought I would carry this 3/4 fridge up 5 flights of stairs by myself, which was a little bit crazy, but I did it. It was a good workout. So anyways, you had the stove right when you came in. On the right-hand side, I had a makeshift shelving unit that I used as a cutting board. The door would bump into that rack. And then I had like one of those Muji open design closets. I didn't want anything closed off. It would feel like I lose that 2 feet of depth in my apartment. Right? So I wasn't about to sacrifice that visual space. And then I had a bed, which was a like Japanese futon wooden bed that you kind of could fold into a chair on like this wooden frame. This was the kicker. All right, this is the thing that most people really struggle with. From the bed, I could use my foot to push open the sliding door that was my toilet. And you walked right in, it was like 1 or 2 feet. That was it. There was no depth to it. There was a sink, there was a toilet to the right, and above the toilet was my shower. That would shoot water across the toilet all the way to the sink area. Every time that I wanted to take a shower, everything got wet. I mean, I could take a shit, brush my teeth, spit it into the sink, and have a shower simultaneously. Maybe I'm the only one who sees value in that, but I thought it was pretty cool. 5,500 for water, utilities, electricity, Wi-Fi, and the space. Now about the place that I lived. Sai Poon is a older neighborhood, and there's the street that I lived on, which is Devoe Road West, is a dry fish market. Dry fish market meaning that the place stank constantly of fish. Right, it was a little bit rough. And every time I had people over, they would always kind of be like, ugh. Now, luckily, because I lived on the 5th floor, the smell didn't rise that high, so in my apartment, I never had to smell it. In the area that I lived, there were several cheaper stores. Now, nowadays, this was 2015, so 7 years ago. Since then, the area has gentrified a little bit, and more expats have moved into the area, and there's a lot more like fancier restaurants. The prices of things have kind of gone up. On Devoe Road West, there's still a lot of noodle stores, like a cheap Thai restaurant. So it was amazing for my budget. But it was just a beautiful area. It's very chill. It had a great vibe. Actually, a lot of my friends who I worked with ended up moving to Sai Poon area as well. So, we'd grab beers and drinks after work. For my exercise, I try and exercise outdoors. I would try and go to the gym as much as I can. I joined a gym membership for this brand called Pure Fitness here in Hong Kong. It's a little bit bougie, a little bit expensive, but because I was saving money on my rental, I justified getting a nice gym because, you know, they had a sauna, a steam room. I could spend a couple hours there. They had like lounges. So, so the time that I was no longer spending at home in my cramped space, I could spend at the gym. Now, obviously, as you can tell from my body, I wasn't a gym rat. I ended up not going as often as I should have, but c'est la vie. So when you live in a confined space, finding hobbies that take you outside and that have a communal area where you can spend some time outside of home can be quite relieving. You go a little bit stir crazy in 80 square feet. Let's get to the steamy part. When I came to Hong Kong, I found it a little bit difficult to connect and to assimilate into the gay community. What I feel is that the gay community in Hong Kong is a little bit hypersexualized, and I think there's several reasons for that. Number one, there's a lot of people who live at home still because, like I said, rent, crazy. On top of that, a lot of them are closeted. A lot of the local community is closeted, meaning that they can't do anything at home, they can't freely be themselves at home. So when they do decide to meet up with other gay men, right, it tends to be for physical intimacy. I'm sure a lot of Hong Kong people who've lived in Hong Kong know the three main questions that people ask, you know. It's top or bottom. Do you live alone? So if you live alone, where do you live? What job do you do? So what you're basically asking is top or bottom, so what position, so once again, sexualized. Are you living by yourself? So do you have your own place that I can come to? What do you do? Like, what job do you do? It's almost like an interview. And to me, I absolutely hate these three questions. Like, why is that even important? Why don't we meet up and see if we have natural chemistry first? But no, those are the three questions that they ask. And to me, it's the epitome of how Hong Kong's current gay culture is super suppressed and under so much strain, and everyone's just trying to find an escape or a way out, or anyways. There's a couple staple gay places in Hong Kong. Now for expats, there's pretty much FLM and Petticoat Lane. There's a place called Lambda Lounge, which is newer to the scene. And places like Zoo, which is a bit more of a local scene. Now, these are all in Hong Kong Central, Sheung areas, so it does kind of cater to a expatriate demographic. These are the places that I started hanging out at. You kind of just go to mingle, to meet, and to hook up, right? Not always. I very rarely hooked up at a bar. But I would go to meet my friends, and it was kind of one of the few spaces where, you know, you really felt like you could just do whatever. I don't think Hong Kong has a... Oh. Hello, my dear. So at this point, I got a little bit distracted, but what I was going to say was that I think that Hong Kong is relatively accepting of the homosexual community. I don't feel like I can't be myself in public. But that being said, you know, it's just that in that gay space, in these, you know, bars where everyone around you is gay, you feel a bit more liberated and safe to fully express yourself. The gay community was something I wasn't fully involved in when I first moved here because I was in a long-distance relationship, 5 years. It was a big disappointment. And so when I was trying to partake in the gay community when I first moved here, it was always like I felt like I was walking on eggshells. I couldn't really commit or involve myself in the community. And then, you know, I started to make friends by, you know, meeting my colleagues outside of work, meeting their friends, and therefore expanding my circle. So my spending was primarily on food and drinking. Now, I didn't have the healthiest lifestyle back then. I didn't have a very healthy lifestyle until I met Arthur. So those bills rack up really, really quickly. Food in Hong Kong is quite phenomenal, I think. You know, there's a lot of really interesting fusions, and there's always like a new restaurant popping up to try, right? And there's the same with bars and clubs, right? There's always new bars popping up, new cocktails to try. Clubs pretty much were always the same. They would just kind of change names occasionally, but there's not that many spaces that can hold a proper club. And clubs in Hong Kong are a little bit trashy. That being said, it can be fun. I'm not saying that all clubs here are bad. It's just, for me, my experiences were always a little underwhelming and very messy. I was also a mess back then. Don't judge me. Hey guys, so it's editing day and I've just come to the realization that my video doesn't really conclude on anything. So I just want to do a quick summary of what my main points were. So the first thing that kind of surprised me when I moved here was that the amount that you pay in rent is quite expensive, super expensive, compared to the amount of space you get. The second thing was that the second biggest expense was for food. There's so many tempting types of food here, especially in Hong Kong Island area where they've got a lot of fusion and unique dishes that you don't really get elsewhere. And for that kind of food, it is a little bit pricier. And especially things like cocktails and drinks. I mean, think about it this way. These bars and these clubs, a lot of them have these very large floor plans, and relating back to point number one, where the rent is super expensive, so everything else is proportionately more expensive as well. So cocktails tend to be pretty expensive here. The third thing, and this one's for the gay community, is that if you're coming here, it is normally a little bit easier if you are single, because you're ready to mingle and meet people from that standpoint, because I do find that a lot of the community here is looking for, you know, their soulmate, a relationship, physical intimacy. You know, that tends to be the agenda rather than just making friends. And then the fourth thing is that, you know, just put yourself out there regardless, try to meet people. Overall, I found a lot of acceptance in the general community for me because I was an expat. So maybe my experience might be different, and you're more than welcome if, you know, you've had other experiences to comment below as to how you've experienced Hong Kong. But overall for me, I've just really enjoyed the chaos that is Hong Kong. And I've seen so much of my own personal growth while I've been here. There's so much you can do in Hong Kong, and there's such a huge spectrum, right? It's not just partying, drinking, and eating. There's hiking, there's, you know, networking events if you want to grow your careers, there's parks, there's cheap eats, there's so much history, there's so many temples, so there's kayaking, water sports, so many things to do. So overall, to me, I've really loved Hong Kong. I am a little bit tired in the sense that, you know, I think Arthur and I have been here for a while and we do want to try living somewhere else. But overall, I think that it's been an amazing experience. It is always going to hold a very dear place in my heart. Anyways, guys, see you guys soon. And if you like us, if you like our videos, please like and subscribe below. Bye.